Item number 6 is a resolution, but I have not been provided with a copy of the resolution. Ms. Arnold, have you had a copy of this resolution?
Would you like me to explain, Mayor?
No, sir.
But
You can
to
have a
advise the council, this is really a resolution of the council authorizing legal action.
Okay, I understand that. I'm not asking what the resolution's about. I can tell that from the title. Where is the resolution?
This is an instruction. You really have two types of actions
Okay,
that you take.
resolutions are required to be in writing. And so if there is no resolution to present to this council tonight, there will be no action taken on this
I
matter.
would disagree with that. Resolutions of this,
Okay.
actions of this council don't have, resolution actions of this council do not
Again,
have
it
to be in
doesn't
writing.
surprise me that we're going to disagree. We should just agree to disagree at this point in time. Ms. Woodward, have you seen any resolution on this action item?
No, I have not.
Okay. And again, there is nothing before this council to vote on. If they wanted to, you cannot authorize without some type of written document, and if this was a resolution, it would be in conflict with our city charter, and our charter would trump this, so it would be moot anyway. But if there's no prepared resolution, then this agenda item is moot, and we will move on to item number
Point of order,
7.
Mayor.
Your code is very precise in that ordinances have to be in writing. Resolutions are not in that category.
Resolutions, all authorities have to be signed by the mayor. And so if there's nothing in writing for the mayor to sign, then there's nothing that is binding. At this point in
the
time, if you do not
description of
have a
what was-
written resolution for us to vote on, then we will not move forward with this agenda item. Thank you,
Point of
Mr.
order.
Powell.
Point of
You
order.
are out of order, Mr. Witz. There is nothing for a point of order. There's no parliamentary procedure that is in question. This is a legal
Point of
matter.
order,
This is a legal matter, Mayor Pro Tem Witz. This is not a parliamentary matter, so there is no
Well,
reason for a point of
question
order.
then. Can I question the chair?
Moving
Are
on
you giving a
to
legal
item.
opinion? Are you giving us a legal opinion
I'm not-
on the city? You just said that was a legal opinion. Are you now giving us legal opinions?
I'm moving on to item number 7.
Point of order, Mayor.
Consideration and an
Point of
action
order.
on instruction of the city manager not to
Point
pay
of order.
any
Point
other
of order.
lawyer or law firm
Point of order.
for work allegedly performed on
take this to
behalf
a
of the
vote of the
city
council.
without official approval, authorizing the hire of additional legal counsel by
Point
the
of
city
order, Mayor.
council
I'd
and
like to
approval
defer
of
to the city
invoices by the city
parliamentarian.
council at a regular meeting. There
Madam
is
Mayor, are you
nothing
going to
to
deny my
defer-
civil rights now, too?
No, sir.
Then let me
Excuse
see that the
you are out of
parliamentarian.
order, Mayor Pro Tem Witz. There is nothing to defer to the parliamentarian because this is not a procedural matter that involves Robert's Rules of Evidence.
It absolutely
This is a
does.
matter that involves the city and the city charter and a
I'm sorry,
resolution
ma'am.
and whether
This
it's
council
required
is
to
the-
be
is
in
the-
writing.
you're wrong.
And Deacon Byrne is not our city attorney. You hired him to be a parliamentarian.
Yes.
This has nothing to do with Robert's Rules of Order.
It does.
No, sir,
Robert's
it
Rule
does
of Order
not.
says that every item on this agenda can be voted on, and you're not allowing a vote on this
There's
agenda item.
nothing for us to vote on
Yes,
if there
there
is
is.
no resolution.
There is.
This meeting is in recess.
We already had one of those.
We will reconvene at a later date.
That would take a vote of council.
No, sir, the mayor can call a recess, and the recess can be indefinitely.
Can you point to in the charter or in anywhere that says
For the city
that?
council to agree with anything from the chair, the code section is 279.
Mr. Powell, we're in recess. If you would like to meet with the council, you can, but please step away from the podium as we are in recess.
I don't believe we are, Mayor.
We are in recess. Mr. Powell, please step away
I don't
from the
have- I have one
podium.
sheet.
Mr. Powell, please step away from the podium. We are in
279, I
recess.
don't have to.
And this is just for, just so.
Oh,
the
289, I'm
council
sorry.
Understands. So the council understands the authority. It is.
Yes,
it is-
please proceed so we can understand
It's
this.
actually 2-89.
89, that's right, I'm confused, I was sorry.
And it's the trouble that you're having. It's the question of how does the majority of council get to speak when there's rulings that stop you from speaking. And your code deals with that as a priority matter which overrules the Robert's Rules of Order. And it is 2-89. And y'all have been trying to do it. You say point of order. And that point of order is an incidental motion that takes priority over all other motions. The mayor should recognize the council member for a statement. And the code section says this: if a council member disagrees with a decision that is made by the chairman, Such council member may appeal the decision. If the appeal is seconded, which I watched that happen, then the appeal will be considered by the city council. It's the group that makes the decision ultimately about the process. The chairman has the opportunity to explain the ruling that has been challenged, and that should be allowed. The city council may then debate the appeal. The council shall decide by majority vote if the chairman's decision is to be upheld, or overturned. The majority elected city council is the ultimate procedural decision maker of this body, and that's the way it's accomplished.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Powell.
Mr. Powell, is it your opinion that we are in recess at this point?
It would require the council to actually
Correct.
vote.
Right.
There is a point of order objection on the record,
Mhm.
and so, if y'all want to say, we don't want to be in recess, we want to appeal the decision of the chair to make the recess, then you can do that. If the mayor were to step aside, the mayor pro tem would step up and chair the meeting in her absence.
I have not stepped aside. I have recessed this meeting, Mr. Powell, but, at this point in time, nothing surprises me that you add to the contentiousness of this council. You were brought into this city to try to find peace, and it has not worked this way. And this meeting has just been from bad to worse. There is no written resolution, but Deacon Byrne, if you would like to opine as to whether or not there is a Robert's Rules, and if you would like to cite the 11th edition of Robert's Rules for this point of order, I will turn the floor over to you.
Madam Mayor, I don't believe that's necessary. At this particular point, though, there was an objection and it was a request for a point of order. And as you heard Mr. Powell say, you are bound to recognize that and hear that council's opinion. That's covered within the rules. The recess, whether it's called a recess or not, that requires a vote, and that was not done.
Mr. Byrne, I believe the point of order, I understand, but I'm asking for your opinion. I'm asking for your, no, Mr. Byrne, I believe the point of order, though, was whether or not we can move forward on a resolution that's not in writing. Can you give us, but the point of order, Deacon Byrne, please let me finish the question, and then you can answer the question, Deacon Byrne. If you would let me finish the question, then you could answer it. So if you could please give me the floor for just a minute, Deacon Byrne. The question, again, please let me finish before you interrupt me. But you started to.
She knows what you're thinking.
Yeah. Don't you know that?
The question that Mayor Pro Tem Witz raised was a point of order as to whether we could move on to the next agenda item when I said there was not a written resolution and that our rules here in the city of Snellville required all resolutions to be in writing. That was the point of order where he asked to defer to the parliamentarian. So can you provide anything in Robert's rules that allows us to hear this motion on a resolution that is not in writing?
But if I believe what Mayor Pro Tem Wicks did at that point was request an opinion after he asked for a point of order, which you denied, and you spoke over him. And you continued to both speak over each other and didn't recognize each other as Robert's Rules of Order requires. You did not recognize that.
Deacon Byrne, if you could please answer the question so we can move on with this meeting.
I think I'm doing that, Madam Mayor.
You're not answering the question. I asked you if there was anything in Robert's rules that allows for the resolution to be heard without it being in writing.
Robert's Rules does not govern how the city business is done with regard to resolutions.
Thank you. Thank you. That's all I needed to hear. We do not need a recap of the whole meeting. Thank you, Deacon Byrne.
You've asked me a question, please allow me to finish.
Deacon Byrne, we don't need a recap of the whole meeting. We don't need to know what's going back on. It's being videotaped, so please let us
Mayor,
move
let
forward
the
with
man
this meeting.
finish, please.
That's the,
How many people can you talk over at one time?
you just asked if Robert's Rules of Order requires that resolutions be put in writing. No. The city rules require whether it's to be put in writing or not. And those city rules trump Robert's Rules in that regard.
Thank you, Deacon Byrne.
All I was going to say.
I-
You don't have to patronize me.
Okay.
And you don't have to.
Thank you for your response. Moving on, consideration and action on instruction to the city manager not to pay any other lawyer or law firm for work allegedly
Point
performed.
of order, Mayor. We did
just
not
said-
resolve the
We just had
agenda.
the point of order. Deacon Byrne told you that there was nothing in Robert's rules about the resolution, whether it had to be in writing or not. So
Madam-
this is not an issue for a point of order.
That's
my
that's part of the city charter and code, and I would like to get Mr. Powell's opinion on that.
Mr. Powell is not the city attorney.
I've already stated that. It specifically said ordinances have to be in writing, resolutions do not, and so it's.
Where does it say that resolutions
this
do not have
cause
to
of
be in
action-
writing, Mr. Powell?
This action really just requires approval of the agenda item as stated.
Where does
and
it state that it does not need to be in writing?
Incorporating the notification which the council gave that set forth the specific items with regard to the charter that I'm authorized to have constructed by the Superior Court, so we resolve these disputes.
Thank you for the additional comments, Mr. Powell, but where does it say in the charter that resolutions do not have to be in writing?
It would not say that. It would say the
Okay,
opposite.
you just said that it,
It would say the opposite, and it does say the opposite with the ordinances. It says they have to be in writing.
okay, so what
It does
legal,
not say that with regard to resolutions.
What
And so
legal
it's
authority-
void of that. When you take action, you know, what the action item here is the vote opinion of the mayor and council with
And are all-
regard to the item on the agenda. I just need, we just need you to make a motion to that effect and vote on it.
Mr.
It doesn't
Powell,
require anything more.
are all actions by resolution not required, are all resolutions not required in the city of Snellville to be signed by the mayor in order to be binding? You're telling me that's not in our ordinances?
What I would expect with resolutions is that it would be.
You would expect, but you're telling me
No,
now you do not know.
No, I do know. I know how they get reduced, how action items of the council with regard to motions and instructions to city attorneys get documented, is that our city clerk, Ms. Arnold, puts them in the minutes of the meeting, and they get signed off on by the appropriate officials when they're brought back up and approved in writing. It's not like you don't do this. The actual whole process is in writing.
Mr. Powell, you're sitting there as an officer of court telling me that it's not the procedure here in the city of Snellville to have resolutions presented to the council for writing, for the resolution to be read into the record and to be signed by the mayor at the time of the vote.
It's certainly, you certainly can do that.
Has that not always been the procedure followed here in the city of Snellville?
It has not.
It has not? Tell me
No.
when we have not followed that procedure, Mr. Powell.
Every time you voted on something where it was not in writing before you is when you adopted something that was appropriate for
Miss-
resolution. There's only two things you really do. You adopt ordinances, which are law, and you pass resolutions, which is your instruction to action. And so you're being asked to do the latter of those two, which you do on a regular basis every meeting. When you approve, we're going to build a fence around the community garden, and you don't have a resolution in front of you. It's that authority that you're being asked to approve this under.
But we're not
I'd like to
voting
make a
on
motion.
contracts, excuse me, we're not voting on contracts, Mr. Powell. A contract is also a document that's in writing. We're voting on a resolution. Ms. Woodward, I believe you wanted to address the council.
Thank you. I was going to simply confirm that the charter addresses only ordinances. It does not address resolutions at all. And as for, I have to agree with Mr. Powell that a governing body can, of course, do things by oral motion that don't have to be a resolution. As for the practice of the city, I'm not familiar. Typically, resolutions are in writing, and typically they are signed by the mayor.
If we were to pass this resolution tonight, if there is no resolution in front of us to be passing, what exactly would we be passing?
Well, of course, the agenda item is a resolution, but you could resolve to do something.
I mean, if no one has a resolution resolving anything, they're just voting to pass the resolution, what are we actually passing? What notice have we given to the public of what we're passing?
Well, I have not had an opportunity to look at this thoroughly, but I actually do believe that that would be permissible to resolve orally.
But, okay, let me entertain the motion. Mayor Pro
Thank you,
Tem
Ms.
Woods,
Woodward. Thank you very much.
What action are we actually proposing? You're asking for a resolution, you want to make an oral resolution. What are you asking in that resolution?
I'm asking that this council resolve with a vote of confidence in Anthony Powell and review of the firm's invoices and authorize him to proceed with filing of lawsuits on behalf of the city and the city council to affirm and express terms of the city charter and restrict the powers to terminate the city attorney, city clerk, city manager. Basically, the only thing I want in the resolution would be our vote of confidence for Mr. Powell and the fact that he is, I voted the majority of this body, the city council for the city of Snellville.
But Mayor Pro Tem Woods, you just said it right there. You want it in the resolution. The resolution has not been drafted yet, so how can we vote to approve
want
a
to resolve the
resolution
vote.
that has not been drafted?
Okay, we're going to vote on it. Make sure that that is in the minutes of this meeting and then ratified and signed as approved minutes at our next formal meeting.
I have to go further with my previous statement, though, that was a form question. As to the substance of the proposed resolution, to the extent that it may be invalid because it's contrary to what's provided in Snellville's charter, that is an issue. And that, of course, is exactly what is pending before
Correct.
the court, which the court has not ruled on yet.
Correct. However, it is our belief that we are correct in our assumption, as the mayor believes that she's correct in hers. So basically, we're not going against what we believe the charter is.
So what is, Mayor Pro Tem Woods, what is the whole point of voting on this tonight then?
So that we.
Mayor,
Let me defer-
Mr. Powell,
let me defer to
please,
Mr.
please, I
Powell.
asked Mayor Pro Tem Woods a question.
I
This is
defer to
not-
Mr. Powell.
Mayor Pro Tem Woods, I don't believe you can defer to Mr. Powell. This is not a public comment. I've asked you a question. You've made a motion. I'm asking you, this motion is subject to debate. What would be the point in us voting on this motion tonight if there is no resolution before the council, if it has to appear on a future council agenda, and if it's something that's being handled in Superior Court right now under litigation? What is the purpose of us voting on this matter
Can
tonight?
I
I
defer to
can
some-
explain that. I can explain that. And it's been raised as an issue in the court, and the judge was obviously walking through the steps of this issue tonight, very effectively and very well.
I
on
have,
point.
I have a question for you.
But here's the reason for the vote, is that there are four members present of this council who have not expressed their opinions with regard to who is the city attorney officially. And in order to tell the court what your view as to who the city attorney is, I need you to raise your hand if you are in favor of Tony Powell remaining city attorney.
So are you advising this council for a self-serving interest to sit here
Oh,
and
my
pass this
God.
resolution tonight in a lawsuit where you're named as a defendant?
What I really want to do is make this dispute go away and make it easy for this city to operate, and have a real law governing this city that gives us some understanding. We have important business. The city's been sued, and somebody needs to be the city attorney, and we've got important opinions to render, and every ordinance that you pass has to be signed off on, and neither one of us. At this point, we have a contested issue as to that. Now, one of the key questions is, what's the opinion of council with regard to the appointment? And that's the purpose of this resolution, is to resolve it. So the court has an instruction, and then if the mayor, if the mayor's right, that issue is before, then she could appoint whoever she wanted to. If the council has to terminate, and they say we're not terminating, then I would remain the city attorney.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Excuse me, I believe that I'm still the chair of this meeting, Mr. Powell, so I'll give permission to ask the questions and not to ask the questions, if that's okay with you.
I will.
May I ask a question of Mr. Powell?
Mayor Pro Tem Woods, if you'd like to make a motion on this, I think it's time for us to move this meeting forward. I believe
like
no
a
matter
clarification
what.
for my motion.
I believe that y'all are going to do whatever you want to do tonight, so let's just get through this meeting.
Well, it will have to start now. I mean, I don't even agree with that statement. We're going to do what we want to do. We're trying to do something, and we can't. And I'm trying to get clarification, and I'm not allowed. And I've been ruled out of order how many times? This afternoon, I was depicted as being a bully and calling you a little girl, which I'd never done. And I think anyone in this audience tonight would say, if someone was to be ranked a bully, I don't think it would be me.
Okay.
I would like to ask the city attorney a question, a legal question, so that I can make a proper motion.
Ms. Woodward, can you please answer Mayor Pro Tem Woods' question then?
I don't know if we'll take a shot at it.
Yes, I'd be happy to.
If the governing body of this city has a majority vote that Tony Powell is the city attorney, and we give him a vote of confidence, because it would be the majority vote of the city, of this governing body, would it not be proper that Mr. Powell, until the litigation is finalized, which the mayor wants to start, fine, but in the meantime, we have to run. So if the majority of this council votes for Mr. Powell to remain as the city attorney until that's settled, because we are the governing body, would that not hold weight?
With all due respect, sir, I don't want to get in the middle of your argument, but since you have posed the question, your charter specifically gives the power to appoint the city attorney to the mayor. And the subject that the judge spent a lot of time discussing today, though he gave no ruling whatsoever, was Section 5.16 of the charter, which is titled Removal of Officers. And it states the mayor, council members, or other appointed officers. I'm sure all of you have read this and are familiar with it. And of course, there is no definition of appointed officers. There are definitions in state law, which suggests it can't be an attorney, but that aside, as far as your charter is concerned, it then states that removal in subsection B, removal of an officer pursuant to subsection A of this section, which subsection A is talking about OCGA Title 45, which has to do with fraud and other improper behavior.
Right.
And so if you're going to remove an officer pursuant to subsection A, it shall be accomplished by one of the following methods. The second method is by order of the Superior Court following a hearing on a complaint seeking removal brought by any resident. And of course, that's not been what's before us. So we're talking about subsection B1, which states the second method, or the first method actually, because it's subsection 1. I'm sorry, I thought it was more expedient to deal with the second first. But following a hearing at which an impartial panel shall render a decision. And then it goes on and talks about in the event an elected officer, which of course we're not talking about here, is sought to be removed, and it goes on, and the rest of this subsection is talking about elected officer. So the only thing potentially in play here is that first sentence following, and that's assuming that the city attorney is an appointed officer, which is exactly what's before the court. But it says following a hearing at which an impartial panel shall render a decision. There's nothing that I'm aware of in this charter that gives any kind of authority or approval to the mayor's action with regard to appointment to the city council. So my
How about
answer to
section
your
210?
question would have to be no.
How about the, go then,
210?
yes, 210.
Well, I would argue it's not applicable. That again is, I mean, that's my reading of it. I don't have any
Yes, sir.
argument. Truly, I have no argument in here. That was the wrong word to choose, and I apologize for that.
That's fine.
But it doesn't appear to be applicable to this situation
Okay.
in my reading of it.
And
But
at the,
that's for the judge, and I'm not.
right,
It's
and
for a
then
judge.
I think we'll all admit that from what I saw in the courtroom tonight, the judge did have some angst that he thought 516 would apply because of the wording of appointment and officers. So, you know, and we're not out in left field here going
No.
way up.
It's a
So then,
legitimate question.
with that in mind, in my mind, we're going to win with 516, okay, because he is an officer, not yours, mine. and the majority of the council feels that way, and we put our faith back in our city attorney, then until that is, until the judge makes his declaration against that, it would be the law of the land of the city, would it not?
There's
And
not-
it
that's
is
not fair.
valid.
It's not fair?
It's not
Okay,
fair.
and I
She
do
can't
not mean to be
resolve
unfair.
that. She can't resolve that. You're only filling in one factor for the court's determination, and that's how the four of you feel.
Okay.
What your vote is.
Miss-
After that, we're back to court. The issue will be before the court. The court looked at it tonight. Ms. Woodward articulates the other side of the issue well.
I'm just trying, this has been a very difficult evening to get your point out. I have the opportunity to, and thank you for your clarification. My resolution would be that we have a vote of confidence in Tony Powell as our city attorney, and that I would ask for a vote of council on that resolution. The resolution then I would ask would be put into the minutes, although it'd be effective upon the vote, that we could put it into minutes. Therefore, it could be approved by, and signed by the mayor, so she could have her copy in writing.
Second.
You are making a motion that we have a vote of confidence for Mr. Powell as a city, let me finish. You're making a motion that there be a vote of confidence in Tony Powell as a city attorney. You're saying that you want a resolution. If you want to make a motion to approve a resolution, then we need to know what the wording of that resolution is going to be. If you want to just make a motion that we have a vote of confidence, you can do that. But if you want an actual resolution, we need to know what you're proposing be said in that resolution, so we can make an informed decision of whether we're going to vote on that resolution or not.
Yeah, I'd like to call the vote. I think I've made myself clear.
No, sir, you have not made a valid motion yet, and the chair has not recognized your motion in order to call it. So again, if you would like to clarify your motion, if you're asking for a vote of confidence for Mr. Powell, that is one motion. If you're asking for approval of a resolution, that is a separate motion, which will require the wordage or the verbiage of a resolution. So please answer the question.
Point of order, I'd like to get some clarification.
The agenda item and the statement is clear. And so my recommendation would be for the council members to point of order with a second to require the vote.
Again, Mr. Powell, you can give a recommendation, but as the chair, I have to recognize all motions. Under Robert's Rules of Order, I have to make sure that all motions are clear before I call them for question.
I make a
At this point in
motion.
time, Mayor Pro Tem Witz, please clarify your motion. Are you asking for a vote of confidence of Attorney Tony Powell? Or are you asking this council to approve a resolution? If you're asking this council to approve a resolution, please be specific in what you're asking the resolution to state.
Can I ask a question, please, for our city attorney, Powell?
No, sir, the floor is Mayor Pro Tem Witz's right now to answer the question. Mr. Powell, please
I've heard
sit
this-
down.
I've heard this in Congress. I yield my time to
Mayor Pro
the
Tem
gentleman
Witz,
to
you
my left.
cannot yield the time. No one, under
Thank you,
Robert's
Mayor
Rules
Pro
of
Tem
Order,
Witz.
Councilman Howard, under Robert's Rules of Order, no one is to speak
Attorney Powell,
until they
If
are
I
acknowledged
could,
by the
you
chair.
earlier mentioned that
Councilman Howard, you're out
the
of order.
resolution
Councilman Howard, you're
was
out
not
of order.
required to be in writing. Is that what I understand?
Yes, I think that's my.
We have moved on
And
beyond.
Ms. Woodward, is that also your opinion that it does not have to be in writing to verbally or orally make this happen?
We have moved on past whether or not the resolution has to be in writing, Councilman Howard.
And
At
I have
this
asked
point in
Ms.
time,
Woodward
I'm
for her
asking
opinion,
for
please.
clarification from Mayor Pro Tem Witz. If he wants to pass a resolution, what is he asking that resolution to stay?
And
You can't just state that I'd like to pass a resolution. You have to tell people what you're voting on.
Mayor, can I
Otherwise,
finish
you
my
can add
statement?
whatever you want. No,
May
because
I
you
finish?
haven't actually been
So you're
recognized by the
stopping
chair. And
the-
so I'm actually
Mayor
speaking to
Pro
Mayor Pro
Tem
Tem Witz.
Yielded his time to
That
me.
is out
So
of
are
order
you-
because Robert's
Are you stopping me from speaking to the public?
You do
Yes or
not
no?
have the floor. You have not been recognized by the chair. Under Robert's Rules of Order, you cannot
Ladies and
yield the
gentlemen, I'm
time
gonna
to
finish my
someone
statement.
else.
Mayor,
You
we're
guys
just
are
going to
making a
collapse.
mockery of this council
No,
meeting.
we're not.
If you will please just answer the question, Mayor Pro Tem Witz. If you want a resolution, that is fine, but please tell me what you would like the resolution to state.
Ms. Woodward,
if you
can
want
I
the
please
resolution to
get-
simply
Can I
state
please
that we,
get
the
your-
council, the city of Snellville, have confidence in the duties of Tony Powell as city attorney for the city of Snellville.
I am
then
simply
so be it,
asking
but
Ms.
please
Woodward for
state
her-
that. Councilman Howard, again, you are out of order.
I have been there all night long. I got no problem with that.
Councilman Howard, you are out of order.
It's not a problem. Miss Woodward,
Councilman Howard, you
Miss
are out
Woodward,
of order.
Miss Woodward, I can do this the rest of the evening.
So
It
can
doesn't
I,
matter.
Councilman Howard.
And we
So
understand
can
that, and it just
I.
cost the city $15,000 for you doing it.
No, sir, it did not. It did not
certainly
cost
did.
the
So,
city a penny.
Miss Woodward,
Excuse
may
me.
may I
Councilman
ask
Howard.
the question
you
I've
can-
asked of you?
I will recognize you after I have received the answer from Mayor Pro Tem Witt.
Mayor Pro Tem
Mayor
Witt
Pro Tem
yielded his
Witt-
time to me.
No, sir, he cannot do that under Robert's
Apparently
rules.
he
Mayor
can't.
Pro Tem Witt, please answer the question. What do you
Woodward.
want your motion to be?
Miss Woodward,
Then we
please.
will have a motion on the floor, and you can ask questions about the motion and debate it all you want. Mayor Pro Tem Witt, please answer the question.
I make a motion.
Thank you.
You're welcome. For a resolution of competence in Anthony O.L. Powell to remain as the city attorney, and I would like to have a vote on that. Further, I would like a written resolution prepared that will illuminate further our resolution to be prepared and ready at our January 14th meeting. But tonight, I make a motion that members of this council so agree, have a vote of confidence in Attorney Powell as the Snellville City Attorney.
Thank you. There is a
Second.
motion.
Second.
Excuse me. There is a motion for a vote of confidence in Anthony Powell as the city attorney. Is there a second?
Second.
There is a second. Is there any further discussion on this topic?
Miss Woodward, can you please answer my question?
If I remember the question.
I'm not sure I do, to be quite frank.
Yes, you do need to be specific as to the motion that is being
That
made. in order
wasn't
to
my
have
question.
on the
That wasn't my
minutes.
question. Does it have to be in writing in order for us to orally make this happen tonight? That's the question.
You can make a motion orally and it can be voted on.
Thank you. That's all I needed.
Any further discussion on the vote of confidence for Tony Powell as city attorney? Anthony
I'm very
Powell.
confident in Tony Powell.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor of the motion signify by raising your right hand. All those opposed? That is 4 favor, 1 opposed. The motion stands approved. Moving on, consideration